My name is JT Thomas here with Performance Golf. I'm super excited to bring you guys the first introduction of how-to series, how to swing like your favorite golfer, and you know who we're gonna start with, Tiger Woods. So if you've always wondered how to swing like Tiger, this is your video. We're gonna start with the grip, get into the takeaway, go to the top of the backswing, into the transition, and then also get you into impact. So again, if you've wondered how to swing like Tiger, this video is for you. So the first thing we're gonna start with is the grip and the setup. So for Tiger's grip, he was slightly on the stronger side in the year 2000. That's the one that we're gonna choose, by the way, for Tiger. So what we're looking to do is that lead hand, if you look straight down, is gonna have 2 knuckles to 2.5 knuckles. So that's gonna be step 1 there. Step 2 with that right hand is, again, get that right V pointing just towards that right shoulder, maybe slightly inside of the right shoulders. The second part, which is also really important, is your setup. So with Tiger's setup, what he did was making sure that his torso was very tall and his rib cage was rounded. So when we set up to this golf ball, we don't want to have our butt too far behind our heels like we're doing a hamstring stretch. Instead, what we're going to feel is we're going to stand completely straight up. From this position, start to round out the rib cage slightly, reach down, make sure that grip is good, and then we're gonna try to keep the torso as tall as we can. If you feel like you can't quite reach the ball, again, you can give it a little bit of pushback with your pelvis, but we don't wanna get too far back. Again, it's gonna make it hard for us to swing like Tiger, who we want to swing like. Again, first thing, just trying to make sure the grip is slightly stronger than neutral. Lead hand has 2 to 2.5 knuckles. Trail hand is, the V is pointing just inside of the right shoulder. From here, we're trying to make sure that the torso is tall, the rib cage is rounded, and the butt is not too far behind the heels. So if we can make sure that we have this set up, we're gonna be well on our way to swinging like Tiger. Now we're gonna transition into Tiger's takeaway. So some really key points for Tiger's takeaway is to understand that the way he moves the club back initially is with his rib cage. This area between your sternum and your belly button is what we want to think about or envision when we imagine moving the rib cage or turning away from the golf ball and the takeaway. So what you want to imagine is, and a good feel for this, if you just take the club, you can really put it on the ground if you want, put your arms to the side to where your scaps and your shoulders are very neutral, they're not hunched forward, not pulled back. And from this position, what you want to do is keep your arms feeling like they're to your side, they're not moving anywhere, and we're just trying to turn this part of our body here. So turning my sternum and my rib cage. You can even put your hands on it so you can feel it moving, and that's going to be, you're going to try to turn it to about 45 when your arms are, left arm or the club is about parallel to the ground. So now we're going to take a club and do that. So here, trying to turn this middle of my body. A good drill again for this would just be grab your stomach with your trail hand, have your lead hand on the club. What you're gonna feel is turning your rib cage and your arms push slightly out away from your body. So turning my rib cage, turning that about 45 degrees, getting my arm to reach out away from my body. So that's gonna be how we work the lead arm in the takeaway in comparison to the rib cage. Now we're gonna talk about how to work the trail arm and relative to the rib cage. So when we go back, again, this rib cage is gonna be always something we do no matter what. We're just gonna feel how the arms work while we do the rib cage movement. The other thing we're trying to feel rotate to the right is gonna be this right arm. So when we swing back, it's called supination. Your right arm is gonna turn to the right as you swing back. So if we can put these movements together of the torso, rib cage turning to start the swing, left arm going slightly away from the body, right arm supinating, rotating to the right. Now we're in a really good position here at this takeaway, feeling the toe slightly up. Again, this is how Tiger used to swing back in 2000. Last reminder, rib cage turns, lead arm goes away from the body, right arm supinates, perfect takeaway just like Tiger in 2000. The next checkpoint that we have for Tiger's swing is the middle of the backswing, or when the lead arm is parallel to the ground in the backswing. When Tiger got to this position, he had very wide arms away from his body. That's going to be checkpoint 1. The second checkpoint is going to be his wrists were not fully hinged at this point. So what you're looking to have at this point where you have the lead arm parallel to the ground is you want an obtuse angle. So what that means is just a wide angle in between your lead arm and the club. You don't want to get this club too narrow here. Tiger again was much wider at this point, and then his lead arm again was very wide and away from his body. This lead arm is what we call in protraction. So what that means is that my rib cage is pulled forward, my scap is pulled forward, and I'm reaching out this way. We don't want to have this arm tight and close to the body. Again, that's not going to be in a very good position, and that oftentimes means that you didn't turn your rib cage properly. So if we can make sure that at this position, lead arm parallel to the ground, we have enough width with our lead arm, and we do not have too much hinge in our wrist. Again, the amount of hinge that we're looking for would be, if you set up to the golf ball, your wrists are unhinged, the amount of wrist cock that you would have would be taking the club about a foot above the golf ball. So if I go here and I hinge the club upwards about a foot, and now I do the reach, rotating my rib cage, now we're exactly where we want to be in terms of this position halfway back, just like Tiger in 2000. So if we can feel the lead arm, lead shoulder blade protract, so what that means is that we're reaching, and if we can feel the wrist hinge the club up about 1 foot above the ball as we reach and turn our rib cage, again, we're in a really nice position here for this halfway back position to look just like Tiger in 2000. The next checkpoint that we have for Tiger is the top of the backswing. We're gonna get to that middle of the backswing position to start from a good spot. Middle of my backswing is really nice. Now what we're gonna do is add the wrist hinge. So again, wrist is gonna begin to hinge, right elbow is gonna begin to fold, and we're gonna turn this right side of us around and out of the way. What it should feel like to you is that your right shoulder is continuing to move around and behind your neck. How we want to feel the arm is going to feel like a bicep curl. So if you just take your right hand, put it out straight in front of you, and take your thumb and push it towards your shoulder till you get to a 90-degree angle, that's what we're looking for. So again, we see a 90-degree angle between our elbow and my shoulder joint and our wrist. So that's the way that we're going to load the club from this halfway back position up to the top. And then we're going to take that feel of the wrist hinging about a foot, and we're going to get it to hinge to where the club is about parallel to our hands. So here we go, middle of the backswing at a really good point. Now I'm gonna try to turn my right side out of the way as I hinge my wrist and I fold my right arm. So now again, we're at a really good position at the top, looking like a young Tiger Woods, ready to absolutely roast this golf ball. Now we're gonna get into maybe the most important movement of Tiger's swing, which is the transition, where he creates all his power, the Tiger squat, again, things that people thought was bad back in the day, but now we actually try to get golfers to do. And that's gonna be Tiger's transition movement. So we're gonna go up to the top of Tiger's backswing. We already know how to do that from some of the previous movements. We're gonna take it up to the top, and now we're gonna work on Tiger's transition. So there's 3 things that happens in Tiger's transition. The first thing is going to be the right shoulder or right arm abducts. What that means is that it goes more behind the body. The second thing that happens is the torso, or that same area that we use to turn back, actually starts to rotate back through. And then the last movement is the pelvis starts to move back into some flexion. So those are going to be the 3 movements we're going to try to get down here in this transition. So we're going to go up to the top, getting in that good position, rib cage turned, arms in a really nice position. From here, we're gonna learn to move the right arm, slightly feeling abduction or behind us as the torso or belly button rotates open. So the movement we're trying to feel, up to the top, good position. Then we're trying to feel the right arm go slightly behind us, abduct, torso moves open. Now you notice as I do that, my pelvis already began to get into a little bit of flexion, and that's what you want to feel. So feeling that torso, belly button go around, pelvis go into flexion, right arm slightly pull behind us. Just learning this movement, letting the right shoulder go slightly behind the shirt seam and coupling that with some torso rotation. So this will feel like this. So torso, rib cage rotating open, right arm pulling behind us. This will be the motion that you want to feel. And then from there, you can add in some pelvis flexion to that, which will look like this. So we're feeling this same movement there. So again, those 3 movements put together, up to the top, feeling the right arm go behind us, torso open, rib cage, pelvis move backwards. Now we're hitting the moment of truth, Tiger's impact. What we're going to talk about for Tiger's impact is going to be a couple of positions. The first thing is going to be right side bend. So what I mean by that is if you take the club, put it right along your shoulder joints here, you don't move your pelvis very much, and you just get your right shoulder lower. So you should feel right side crunching, lead side expanding. So again, if you just stand here, Get this right side lower. Try not to use any of the lower part of your spine. Again, just the upper part of your spine. When you do it correctly, again, you'll get a crunch here. You'll get some lead side expansion at the left side of your swing. So now, if I take that movement, get some right side bend, and I add my pelvis getting open, which again, Tiger's pelvis was very open back in 2000. I turn my pelvis and I have right side bend. Now we get into a really nice position, how Tiger would be at impact. All these movements that we're doing coincide with each other. So they're not like, hey, this piece is here, my body's here, it feels kind of out of control. If you're doing these movements correctly, your body will feel very in sync, and that's how you know, again, you're doing these movements exactly like Tiger. So we're gonna go ahead and hit one out there like this, see if we can feel all these movements from Tiger. Swing like Tiger. If you enjoyed this video and would like to see more like this, like and subscribe. Looking forward to seeing you guys next time.